you still believe that they are the favorites to do it again. What are your thoughts on Arsenal going into this game against Manchester City, what they've done this summer, and the target is now square on their back? Does that change anything for Mikel Arteta?
Doesn't really change much for me if I'm thinking about Mikel Arteta and what his plans are for the season. He's trying to improve a team that was already very, very good, right? Competitive in European football, competitive domestically. They should have won more trophies than they did end up with, but they got the one that they really wanted, which was probably the Premier League. I do think that the Champions League they should have done a better job of, maybe practice some penalty kicks, but at the same time, they made themselves competitive in every single game. Yeah. Defensively, incredibly solid. The amount of clean sheets that Raya had was ridiculous. And then you look at how many goals they conceded, the best defence. That's how you start to build a foundation of success. Now, if you add a few pieces to the puzzle, I mean, the success that they've got already is unbelievable. But you add a few pieces of open play opportunity. Bruno Guimaraes in particular. Solis comes in, not many people know his name. I actually watched him play for Fortuna Düsseldorf a couple of years ago and then went on to have European success and made his jump. Now all of a sudden getting a big opportunity at Arsenal, he's got to be ready to go. Is he at that level? I'm quite intrigued to find out. But it's adding extra pieces to depth, and it's adding extra pieces to what I think is the most important thing, to more quality from open play. Bruno comes in, and I think he's going to offer exactly that. They need a midfield that can create. Odegaard cannot do it on his own. He's proven that already. He cannot do it on his own. He's not reliant for the whole season when it comes to 50, 60 games a season. You cannot rely on him to be there because he's injured far too frequently. So I do think that Bruno Guimaraes comes in and takes a bit of pressure off Odegaard, especially that creation. But can Bruno take his game to the next level? Yeah. He's been at Newcastle for a while, won one trophy. Right? We celebrate him like he's a great. But to be greats in the Premier League and to be greats in European football, you've got to win trophies. Yep.
You mentioned the defence, and in the last few preseason games, they've given up several goals, 2 or 3 goals in each of these last preseason games. Yep. Do you worry about the defence? We talked about best defence in Europe last season by far, got them to a Premier League title, got them to a Champions League final. Are you concerned? Lacroix coming in, Saliba has been in and out with injury, Gabriel has had some injuries as well. Are you concerned?
No, pre-season friendly games are an absolute nightmare to predict exactly how it will be when it comes to a competitive match. I mean, Arsenal were excellent defensively last year. Raya, I mean, how on earth he wasn't the Spanish #1? Yeah. I think we kind of know now because they've got a pretty good one. But Raya was one of the best goalkeepers in world football last year. Obviously, if you look at the options they've got defensively, and Nketiah making this move permanent, the injuries at some point to each individual player cost them. But they still managed to rotate in and out. And I think Mosquera he was the one that impressed me the most, the one who was not a permanent fixture, but stepped in, did a job, stepped back out. Stepped back in, did a job, stepped back out. I mean, to have that type of consistency is truly unique, and what they've built is an absolute juggernaut of quality on the bench. Defence wins you championships. I don't care what anyone says. Mike Grella, Troy Deeney, all these goal scorers we've got around the Golazo network, they can all say what they want, but at the end of the day, if you're conceding too many goals, you will not win trophies. So I do think that what they have in their armoury of defence is just truly spectacular. They're going to be better this year, I think, Arsenal.
You just see how deep it is, how many players they have that are quality, and you move up to the midfield, and you can argue that it's the same type of depth. It is really impressive.
Yes.
When you look at this midfield now, I asked you the same question yesterday. I'm going to ask you again. What is the best 3 or 4 in the midfield? Because you really can rotate and have a mixture of different combinations, different profiles of players. Yeah. It almost makes them, you look at them and say, not only are they favorites for the Premier League, but they're favorites to win multiple trophies this season with that depth if they stay healthy.
Well, it's like what we talked about yesterday. I even mentioned to you that I think Zubamendi will actually be better this year than he was last year. And he was a great addition to the squad. Marino scored a ton of goals, not necessarily playing as a midfielder, but as that offensive-minded player. Dalman makes his opportunity as a youngster stepping into this group and being so much more competitive. They're fabulous. You add Bruno alongside Dec Rice, Manieri, I mean, the quality continues to improve. Eze might struggle to even get into this group. So Odegaard is still the creator as far as I'm concerned, but Bruno Guimaraes comes in, and I think he offers a little bit more quality from open play when it comes to goal scoring. Dec Rice off set pieces, fabulous, just brilliant. Putting balls in dangerous areas, I get it. Odegaard sees passes that other players don't. Bruno Guimaraes can do both. Dead ball situation, open play situation, creating goals, scoring goals. That's what Bruno can do. And I think under Arteta, I think Bruno will take his own game to the next level. But don't rule out the youngsters. Manieri's been very, very good to watch play, and I think he's continuing to develop. And I do think Dalman, still now, will continue to develop again and go to another level. So, yeah, Zubimendi, I'm just going to throw it out there. He needs to have a good season. Because if he doesn't start well, it's going to be very difficult to get into that team.
Yeah, you look at it, and Arteta's going to have a very difficult. Every single game, he'll have a difficult decision to make as to what 3 or 4, how he's going to play. Because the amount, it's a great problem to have as a manager, a manager of an elite team, to have this many players. But yeah, it's extremely impressive when you look at just how many solid, good quality they have in the middle of the park.
That's a huge point to make, though. You need a leader. You need a true leader, someone who's experienced, that has the respect of everyone in that locker room. And Arteta has that, right? There's not many locker rooms nowadays where coaches have been there for a long period of time that have the respect, that command the respect. Arteta does. Every single player listens. And nowadays, I think players recognise that you don't have to play every game. You're going to get 40 games in one way or another.
And it's probably for the better for these players to elongate their careers, right? Let's go to the front line, the forwards for Arsenal. Again, being led by, you would imagine, Victor Gyökeres yet again. Kai Havertz will play a part. Bukayo Saka, they win the title with him having a subpar season by his standards. What do you think of what they have now, and who would be your ideal 3 to start in this attack?
I still think that Gyökeres will be the main man, number 9 role. I do think that he is going to score a lot more goals than he did do last year. It wasn't necessarily pretty from him since his arrival from Sporting Lisbon, but he will get better and he will get used to the Premier League. That was his first season in the Premier League. Gabriel Jesus will be a bit part player. Saka needs to be healthy, obviously. I do think Martinelli will be another one who's a bit part player, and Solis comes in and puts a bit of pressure on both of those wide players, by the way, including Madueke. So I do think that there's pressure under Martinelli and Madueke in wide areas. Probably throw Reece Nelson in there as well. He'd probably be one that you would imagine will find a loan move somewhere, because I don't see him featuring. But having a healthy Havertz, obviously we saw that in the Champions League, he's a problem. He can play as a number 9. He can drop off a little bit. But where's these partnerships coming from? I don't know. Who's my preferred? I'd have Saka for sure on one side, because if he's healthy and he's happy and he's confident, he's going to be better than he was last season. And I think confidence comes from his health, that mental space. If it's confident, he's one of the best players in the Premier League, full stop. Gyökeres has to be scoring goals. If he scores goals, that confidence is going to go through. I actually bag him to get more than 20 goals this season in the Premier League alone. I think he gets there. He got over 20 goals all competitions last year for Arsenal, but I'm intrigued. I think Kai Havertz is the one I've got my eyes on the most, though. Kai Havertz, I'm not guaranteeing him my starting place at all.
It's fair with the players that they have. It's fair. Gabriel Jesus, rumored possible move to Serie A as well, so he may be out the door. They have fantastic players. I think it all comes down to Gyökeres in the season he has, and it all comes down to the health of Bukayo Saka. Because if he is fit and playing at his top level, it is dangerous, and you will say that there are no teams that have the midfield and attack that Arsenal does if he is fit.
No doubt.
Playing at his level.
And watch out for Solis. He's a player who is unknown, but still can unleash himself to the Premier League and to the world. He's a talented player, very skillful ball player, very similar to Saka, actually.
It'll be a difficult team to overcome for sure. This Arsenal side will be looking for back-to-back Premier League titles.